Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of They Don't Teach This in Law School. I'm Charlie Mann of law firm Alchemy, and I'm really excited to talk with this individual here on the show. I've known him for a long time. He's an amazing law firm owner with an incredible story. He's making huge impact in his wider Boston community and digging deep into the Spanish-speaking market, something we will undoubtedly touch on during our conversation. But truly, a great entrepreneur and a great friend of mine, Len Spada. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charlie. Happy to be here. That was quite an introduction. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
You know, it's I like to do the introductions rather than finding the formal "what's your position?" I like to just kind of say how I know the person, right? Like what interests me, what inspires me, because that's how I want other people to know you. Like you're Len, a guy who is a driven entrepreneur and entering another phase of entrepreneurship. We might touch on that, but also just an overall good dude, as it were.
Now that is the ultimate compliment because I've been striving to be a good dude for a long time.
So Len, let me ask you the opening question. What is
Sure.
one thing they don't teach you in law school?
Well, I did ponder the question because you prompted me that you'd be asking me that question. And there's a few things, but the one thing that I think has permeated my whole life is that they don't teach you in law school that you will always and forever think in a different way than most people. You are trained, and it's pretty subtle, and it's almost at a subconscious level, but you are trained in law school to think a certain way. And I have found in my life that is both really good for certain things, and for some things it's not so good. And you have to be aware of that as you go through life, that you think differently than a lot of people who are not in the legal space, and you should probably take corrective actions in maybe some of your personal relationships and things like that. But that's what I take away from that question is they definitely do not teach you that they're changing the way you think forever.
How would you describe that change? Like, what does it look like?
It makes you almost annoyingly analytical. Okay. And I say annoyingly, it's not annoying when you're practicing your trade and you're an attorney and you're analyzing a situation and you're trying to spot issues. You're immediately trying to solve problems. Okay. As opposed to in sometimes in your personal relationships, people don't always want you to solve their problem. Okay. And they're not chatting with you so that you can issue spot and find, what's the holding in this particular situation. So I have found with my relationship with my wife, my children, and my friends, there are times when either someone like my wife or a good friend is be like, hey, listen, we're not in court, or I'm not your client, or I'm not being cross-examined, or whatever the case may be. I've had situations where I intuitively always want to spot the issue and try to solve the problem. And that's, again, like I said, really good in areas of practice of law. It's even good in your business life outside of law. It's a pretty useful way of approaching life. But there are a minority of circumstances and settings where you need to be self-aware that that's not the way it should be approached. That sometimes you need to try to be more empathetic. Sometimes you need to just shut up and listen. Okay, analyzing. Just be there to hear and listen and not analyze. So that's what I would say.
I've had to learn that lesson as well in my relationship with my wife in particular.
Yeah.
That, hey, sometimes I'm not actually supposed to try and solve the problem, which, mind you, Len, that befuddles me at times because that's the instinct, right? You see the problem and you're like, oh, sweet. Like I have a suggested solution, but also I want to bounce some ideas off of you about how you can solve it. And the person's sitting there like, that's not the context of what's going on here.
It's taken me, a lifetime to appreciate that not everybody wants a problem solved. And when I say this is a recent discovery, I graduated law school, 32 years ago, and it's taken me a long time. So I basically have raised both of my children with this mindset, and it is what it
That
is.
being said,
It served me well in some situations.
and you have two kids who are growing into their own successes in
Oh
life,
yeah,
already achieving
oh yeah,
successes in their
absolutely,
life.
absolutely.
So, I mean, you did something all right there.
I did. It's an area of my life that, um, I'm not always comfortable with people praising me for, doing well in business a lot. You say thank you, but you're not really comfortable. I'm really proud of the fact that um, my wife and I have raised two children who are just genuinely good human beings. They're kind and they're loving, and they have other attributes that we hear a lot about. Oh, they're really smart, they're really ambitious. They're those things too, but my the most proud I am of them is that of the type of people that they've become. My son and my daughter are both genuinely really nice human beings. People that if they were not my children, I'd want to be around.
Oh, there you go. That's a
Yeah,
pretty high compliment to pay to your own children.
I know, and they're good. They're good kids.
Good. So let me ask you this little framing question here. So you talk about the self-awareness of understanding the analytical brain versus the listening or empathetic brain. If you were to frame it up as advice to Len 25 years ago, what would you tell Len 25 years ago to speed up that journey?
That's a very tough question because you're going back in time. Um, Try to be more aware of what people are saying to you, cues, subtle and not so subtle cues. Like I have had people tell me in no uncertain terms that I was doing this, and they sort of
Mm.
ran roughshod over that, thinking that um, it might be a personality quirk on their end. So it's very tough. I guess my advice would be when somebody gives you a piece of critical advice, that to take a breath
Mm.
and ponder it. They may be wrong. I'm not suggesting that you take every piece of advice, but they may be right. And I never gave that possibility of somebody else being right a chance often enough. And that's what I would do. I think if I went back 30 years to my younger self, I would try to, okay, somebody was critical of me in some way, shape, or form. And instead of having a knee jerk reaction, be like, you know, just that's not true. Okay. I mean, think about it. You might
Mm.
still come to the conclusion that they're not correct or it's not true, and you might still be firm in your position. But if you take the time to think about it and try to assess it, you will, over time, accelerate the pace with which you become better, a better person, a better listener, and less, basically less annoying as a trained lawyer. And you can get to the point where your training has made you, in some social settings, difficult.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
perfect for court, perfect for a deposition, maybe not so much for the dinner party or the family gathering at Thanksgiving, whatever.
That comes around to the as I've talked about on a couple of episodes, the hierarchy of value. You first get paid for what you do, then you get paid for what you know. And a lot of lawyers who stick with that analytical brain, it would seem they get stuck in that space and they never move up to the next level, which is you get paid for who you know.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and then who you are. And if you don't pursue the I want to get to know other people and I just want to listen to them, not turn on the here's what I know and here's how I can solve your problem, but I want to listen to you. And that then means more and more people want to be around you, and then you just get paid for who you are, that natural transition. So it's a good reminder for every lawyer who's looking to elevate past the game of being a lawyer and really looking to the entrepreneurship journey, what they can do.
One thing I'd like to add to that, Charlie, that I think is
Yeah.
important, something it's sort of a newer revelation for me. And as I deal with, I have a lot of younger staff members. Some of them are in leadership positions now. And as
Mm.
I become more involved in their training as leaders, I have started to be more appreciative of doing something that's not is annoying and that needs to be worked on myself as well. Sometimes we aren't really listening. We're just waiting to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In other words, you're sitting there, and I had a leadership meeting today, and I won't mention this person's name, who I really adore and I think is doing a phenomenal job on the personal level and in the business. But this person, and I won't even use their pronoun because it'll give it away. But this person at times is so chomping at the bit to respond to something that myself or another member of the leadership team is saying, that I know this person is not processing well enough what is being said. I'm guilty of that at times too, but I've become more aware of it, and I've been trying to make this other person more aware that they appear to be doing that as well. And it really is an exercise in discipline to get to that point. And I try to do it, and I think I'm getting better at it. And so is this person on my leadership team. But that's another piece of advice that I would want my kids to be aware of. Do not just listen as an opportunity to respond. You are going to respond, but listen.
Yeah. It's such a weird little skill to develop, and the idea that active listening has to be developed. And it was weird. So Len, I have the background as being an actor, and as an actor, you're trained to do active listening. But in reality, active listening is like staring at that other person, making it seem like you're listening and trying to remember your line in your head before it gets to your turn.
Yeah.
And the really great ones do eventually get so comfortable with what's happening. And by the way, they master the initial craft of when they memorize lines, they don't just memorize at surface level, they ingrain it deep within them. So that way the responses seem like they come from nowhere, as opposed to, all right, I'm loading the chamber here. We're getting ready. Okay, fire. Good. All right, now reload. Get ready to fire my next line. Same thing in life. Just listen. Pay attention. Everything else can disappear for a moment. Like we're doing this podcast right now, right? The only thing that matters is this podcast, this conversation. I know that there are other things going on in each of our businesses, but this is the moment that matters.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like a superpower if you can get good at it. It really is. People open up to you more. They engage with you more. They feel more comfortable with you. It really is. I don't think it's an easy skill to get good at, but if you're young and you work at it and you get really good at it, I think to use a business term, the return on investment is gigantic.
There is an ROI, and we do like to measure ROI.
I'm not sure you can quantify the ROI, but you'll see good things happen in your personal life, in your business life. I do think it's a superpower skill if you can work on it.
So Len, I knew that one of the things I wanted to talk with you about during this conversation actually harkens back to several years ago, a conversation that you and I had where you were at a point in your entrepreneurial arc where you were saying, do I look to stay where I'm at and kind of maximize this, build out the lifestyle, all that, or am I shooting for this next level? And maybe not even just next level, but level past that, a bigger journey. And you are on an arc now of a much bigger journey. I'm really curious to dig into, because by the way, the number of clients I have who experience that moment, whether when they first come to me or some point in the journey, I think it's so helpful to hear from someone like you. What got you to go, I'm going up, baby?
Yeah. I remember the conversations that you and I had. For those people who will watch this, I am 58 years old. I'm at a point in my life where I get asked a lot. So, you're thinking about retirement, and what are your plans? Are you starting to slow down? And that question used to just eat at me, like I was supposed to. Like society has dictated that I need to walk off into the sunset like an elder and never be seen again. Then I used to question myself, well, should I be thinking that way? Is there something wrong that I don't feel that way? And then, I've been involved, as you know, with learning more about marketing and treating my law firm as a business. And then I got the skills necessary from being involved that I knew I could grow my firm. And the next
Mm,
question came, do I want to? Like, what do I, Len Spada, want from life? Do I
mm,
want a small practice that's comfortable, that provides an adequate, you know, compensation for me to live and enjoy my
yeah.
life the way I become accustomed? Or is this something else I want? And I wrestled with that question, I would say, for years. I really, really would go to these mastermind meetings and people would be
Hmm.
like, what do you want? And I was like, oh my God, I'm sad. I don't know. I don't know what I want. But I always felt like there was something burning, because if I wanted to slow down, or if I wanted to sort of wind down, I always felt like that would have bubbled to the surface, and I would have known on a gut level that that's what I wanted. And I always resisted that on some level.
Hmm.
Well, I've made the decision, and the decision was I want to grow the firm. I have a vision of what it is I want for a firm. And I'm not doing it primarily for financial reasons, which changes the dynamic on how I'm doing it. So my decision was I'm not ready to retire. In fact, I don't like the word retirement. To me, is something you do when you want to get away from something that you no
Yep.
longer enjoy doing. I love practicing law, and I love building a law firm that is made in the image of what I want it to be, like what my vision of the law firm should be. So I am more energized now at 58 than I've ever been at 38 or possibly even 28. I wake up in the morning, just like I mentioned to you earlier. Uh, you know, I wish sleep wasn't a necessary component of the human condition, because I wake up early. I'm dying to go to work. And I know some people will hear that and be like, oh, blah, 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 he's full of crap. Well, I'm grateful that that's really how I feel, because I know there are so many people on Sunday night dread. And
Mm,
I just wrote an article about this. The Sunday afternoon dread. It's Sunday and you're thinking about, the weekend's over and I don't really want to go to work on Monday. I'm blessed and I'm thankful that I am excited. I get my notepad out and I plan out my day or my week, and I'm really excited to get started on it. Do I have bad days? I have horrible days. Okay. Just like everybody else. And sometimes they're magnified because I'm taking on so much risk, and I have,
right.
more and more employees every week that I'm responsible
Yeah.
for. So I have made the decision to grow.
Yeah.
And we're in the midst of it now, and I think you're pretty well aware of what I'm going through. And it's exciting as hell. So I feel like retirement is something that may be forced upon me by, you know, the good Lord above someday, because I'm really having a good time. Yeah,
No, so what I really like about that, Len, is your journey. Because I've clients who are at different ages. So some of them are going to be contemporaries of you. Some of them are going to be younger, and a lot of it kind of comes down to where are their kids at in life, right? They're
absolutely.
building right now like the
Absolutely.
1.5 $2 million firm because they want to spend a lot of time at home. They're not ready to kick it into a enjoyable but lengthy 14-hour day where a lot of it is invested into the firm because you got kids who are launched off in the world,
Right.
and now you have this renewed energy, which is really exciting.
It is. And, well, it, I know how old your children are. My children,
Yeah.
I have a son who will be 26 in January, and I have a daughter who just turned 22. So I don't have the day to day responsibilities that I did when they were younger. But I think it's okay to do what I did. I invested a lot of time with my children when they were younger, and
Mm-hmm.
at the expense of growing my firm. So I don't, you can do both. You can grow your firm and get big when the kids are younger. Um,
Yeah.
but I had a wife that still has a career. She's an executive. So we had to do a lot of sharing of child rearing responsibilities. And now that I look back, I'm so grateful that I had that. I
Mm.
coached baseball, and I would pick my kids up at school, and I would spend time with them during the day because I had my own practice. If my wife was traveling on business, I regret none of that. It was complete blessing. My relationship with my children is such today because I had a foundational, you know, element of time with them.
Mm.
Whereas if I had done what I'm doing now, then I would have missed out on things. And
Yeah.
quite frankly, my relationship might be a little different with my children.
Yeah.
But I don't have any regrets about the way it turned out for me. It works differently for different people, whether or not you have a spouse who's home as a stay-at-home parent and you can spend more time building the business, or whether or not
Yep.
your spouse is contributing to the household finances and making life really fun and livable so you don't have the financial stress. It all depends. But now that my kids are gone, my wife doesn't want me around all the time. she's pretty content with me doing what I'm doing. We have ample time together, but there's no guilt if I'm working late. There's no guilt if I'm going in super early. If I have to work on a weekend, there's support.
And you have the power of purpose behind you, Len. Like that's something that my, love my father-in-law, but he was very much the type of guy that you were talking about earlier, who he was counting down the days until 65,
Yeah.
till 65, he's 80 now, just about. And he was just focusing on 65. And when he got there, he didn't really have anything on the other side. He didn't have a lot of purpose. And I'm always inspired about hearing any type of entrepreneur who continues to maintain purpose and building and growth in life going forward. So for you, how are you utilizing that purpose and energy? What are the next big steps for Len and Spada Law Group?
Well, just, real brief background info about me. I grew up
Yeah.
in the city in Boston, literally in Boston. And when I was a child, where I grew up, it was predominantly Italian immigrants. My family was from Italy, the Italian immigrants. So I grew up in a really loving, close family, but it was very gritty. It was urban. We all lived in one triple decker. There were grandmother, grandfather on one floor, aunts, uncles. So, and it was very similar to today's urban residents who are Hispanic. So I currently so I saw all the things that immigrants went through as a child, and not all of them horrible. I'm not going to paint this horror story, but there were distinct challenges caused by language, caused by prejudice from people who had been here from the wave of immigrants just prior, and so it's very similar. So I always had an affinity for people who were new to this country, who didn't speak the language. And, I always had that want to fight the bully, want to, stick up for the small guy attitude. And that carried with me. I was in the DA's office as a prosecutor in Boston, always, fighting for victims of crimes. And so I always liked that. I always liked being the bully slayer kind of mentality. And now I find that the demographics of where I practice law, which is only a mile from where I grew up, it's all Latino, Hispanics, okay, people first generation. And their experience resonates with me so much. And so even though I'm not Latino or Hispanic, my entire staff is, and we have developed a wonderful reputation in the community for standing by, the Latino, Hispanic immigrants in their fight. We do personal injury work exclusively, but we use that as a vehicle to help them. I mean, these people come to this country, the language is different. They don't speak the language. They have all types of challenges. And when they come to us, we put them on an even playing field with large insurance companies. And a lot of people like to, vilify these insurance companies. They are big. At times they can be soulless and horrible.
Yes.
And I love knowing that when this person from Honduras or Colombia or Guatemala or wherever it's from comes and has Spada Law Group representing them, they're treated, and they're going to be treated because we force them to be treated fairly. I love that. I get a huge kick out of that. It really gets me going. So we've developed a practice that it's a niche. That's our niche is, the Hispanic community, and we're really taking off. So I would say in the last 5 years, we've tripled our business, and there's no
Wow.
end in sight. We're growing, we're hiring, um, growing into a bigger facility. So a lot of things that people at my age are not doing, we're doing.
Hmm.
We're hiring people, we're getting bigger, we're taking on risk with personnel and facilities, we're marketing, we're advertising, we're out into the community. So it's exciting from a business point of view, and from a Len Spada of personal, what gets me up every morning. That's my vision. Now, money comes with that, so we're doing
Yeah.
financially well, but sometimes when you say something like this, you sound too big for your britches. I don't need that. So the
Yeah.
money's not, what gets me going. I enjoy it. I have a really nice lifestyle. Our family lives a good lifestyle, but that's not why I'm doing it. So I think if you ever can get to that point in life where you have enough of a passion or a vision that that's what
Mm.
motivates you, and people used to tell that to me when I was younger, everything else falls into place. If you're working strictly for the dollar, somehow it gets lost in translation, and you
Yeah.
never become what you're capable of becoming if your vision was attached to what you actually do for work. And, that's a recent revelation to me because I'm seeing it manifest itself.
Yeah, it's interesting, Len. I was reading a book recently, and I can't remember the title of it off the top of my head, but it framed up the way that people operate work-wise in life. And it had three categories. One of them was the prisoner, which is that person just feels captive to their
Yeah.
job. And that's applicable to some law firm owners. They don't really own the firm so much as the firm owns them.
Exactly.
And then you have mercenaries, and those are people who are just motivated by the money. They are liable to go wherever the money is good. As the wind shifts, so do they. But then the last category is the missionary, right? That's the person who has purpose, who has drive, who it is about more than just the money. And I agree with you. At the end of the day, it you want to make money. It's a representation
Absolutely.
of, hey, we're achieving something here. And oh, by the way, that money gets poured back into finding more people who can help the Hispanic community. It goes into producing better systems, better outcomes for that community marketing as well.
It also goes into paying the staff that you have well, so they
Yeah.
feel like they're. I mean, that's a good feeling as a law firm owner, knowing that the people you have working for you feel compensated well, they feel appreciated, and then you watch staff members buy a home, put their kids through school, buy a car, live their own
Yeah.
life, raise their family on the efforts of your entire team. That's rewarding. It's not, it's money that I'm actually putting out there, but when you watch what your efforts do for other people's lives, that's,
Hmm.
yes, we're helping clients, but I'm also helping staff, team members. Huge, huge reward for me, satisfaction. I love it. I have some young staff members, and watching them become professionals, get paid like professionals, live like
Yeah.
professionals. I get a kick out of that. I really do.
For all the generational angst that people have, honestly, Len, we need more people who are operating the way that you're operating, which is empowering and finding the next layer of leaders across multiple generations within your practice, and understanding that at the end of the day, no one is their generation. They're a human being with potential. And you can unlock a lot of that potential by stepping back and saying, I see that you could take ownership of this space. Let's see what you do with it. And you've gotten better and better over the years at trusting your staff with that, right?
Well, yeah, and it really it irks me sometimes. I read things and on social media or in the press, whatever, about this younger generation, that they're lazy, that they're entitled, that they're snowflakes, that they're all of these
Yeah.
things. And now I'm comparing that to my own frame of reference, which is my two children,
Yep.
who don't fit any of that. They're just hardworking, committed people. And then
Yep.
I look at the people that work with me that are young. We have staff ranging from 23 to 60. Okay, so we have some young staff members, and I don't find any of that evidence in my own organization. I find extremely hardworking, passionate, committed young people. So I don't know what they're talking about. So I read in the press, this next generation, and it's a lot of people my age moaning and groaning about how the younger people, they don't see what I see on a daily basis. So I don't agree with it, because my personal experience differs from what I'm reading. Now, were there lazy people in my generation? Oh God, yeah. There are going to be lazy, people who don't like to work, who complain a lot in every generation. So I agree with you. You have to kind of use your own experience. And I disagree with that. I think there's some fine young talent out there who are willing to be. But one thing I will say, and maybe my experience with my staff is such because their alignment with our vision is so tight. Maybe they would not tolerate an environment where they thought their owner or their leadership team was all about money. So maybe that's the reason I'm seeing what I see, is because it's the product that I'm putting out in front of them is different. I don't know.
I actually appreciate the fact, Len, that you're willing to say at times, I don't know, because it is usually a confluence of factors, and we can't chalk it up to just one thing. As much as we all want to just have this one thing, like it's only this one thing that's working. No, it's not. It's this lifetime of experiences, developing systems, getting to know the community, involving people. All of it shapes the outcome that you're generating now. And we often take for granted all of the past experiences and over attribute the success of today on just what we're doing right in front of us.
Right. Yeah.
It's more complicated.
We had an event this past Sunday in the city of Everett. Everett is a town that abuts the town that our office is in. And it's a urban city, a lot of Latinos, and they had an event. Hispanic Heritage Festival with music, and I wasn't there. It was rainy, it was cold. I had staff members man a tent, get involved in the events, and had themselves, they were just so happy to be involved in the community. You know how hard it is to motivate people to do extracurricular things outside of the work? I'm so proud of them. They got themselves on the radio, they're giving interviews, they're interacting with young children, they're getting shout outs from the stage by the biggest Latino music station here in the city. Just doing, and like this is, I'm with my wife in New Hampshire, and they're doing all these things, and I'm getting a lot of the benefit of it because I'm getting a lot of exposure. But these young staff members are so committed to just getting out into the community, doing good things in the community. And I'm so proud of them. I'm really proud of them. And I think that we're going to be able to hire more like them because they're here. So they're going to be instrumental in me getting more people like them here to work.
So let me ask you a little bit more about that market, since we're talking about it. And for an attorney who's listening to this going, okay, that all sounds nice and good. It sounds like Len's got the in on all of this. I'll never be able to figure it out. What should someone do if they're maybe scratching at the surface and going, there might be a possibility. I have a large Hispanic population, Spanish-speaking population. What should they do to get started?
They should ensure, the first thing they should do is look in the mirror and ask themselves, do they feel committed to helping the community for a reason other than just getting a revenue stream from that community? And it's okay to say, yes, that's the reason I'm motivated to market to that community. I need more money. I need more revenue. That's not an evil thing. So don't shy away from it. But if that's the only reason, if you don't have some underlying commitment to helping that community, you don't have to be like me, who grew up in the area and experienced that. You can just have a general sense that it's an underserved community. They're entitled to good legal representation. They don't always get it because of language barriers, because of cultural differences. If you have a reason to serve that community in addition to making money off them, then the next step I would do is show that community that you have some desire to attract them as a client. They don't get that a lot. Okay, they don't have a lot of attorney outreach from non-Spanish speaking attorneys. If you can't hire a bilingual staff member, that'd be the first thing. If you have the resources,
Okay.
get somebody in your office who speaks Spanish. Very difficult if you don't have that. If you can't hire somebody full time, look into virtual assistants. It's all the rage, and we use them here as well. And you can get somebody who works in another country, who speaks English perfectly well, who communicates in Spanish very well, and you can put them on your phone system with the voice over internet provider, and it's seamless. No one even knows they're not in your office. We have a virtual assistant. We have clients come in and say, "Hey, where's Jose?" Well, Jose's in Honduras. Okay, if you want to speak to him, we can definitely patch you through. So that would be the first thing, and then make a small commitment. Get all of your documents translated. Spend the money. It's short money. Get everything that you normally, whatever area of law you're in, get them all translated, so that when you meet with someone who doesn't speak your language, and you can immediately present him or her with all the necessary documents in their language, you can see a huge relief come over the client or potential client at that point. Okay, I'm in the right place. This person wants my business. They're prepared for my business. They have other clients like me. Those are the first steps. There's a million of them that I could go on, but I'm not going to take up the whole podcast with how to market to the Spanish community. But those would be the first things.
Well, I like those because they represent kind of what you initially talked about there, Len, but that showing of commitment, taking it seriously. This isn't local service ads. It's not an exploitative, let's see if we can cash in type of play.
No.
It takes time. You have to invest the resources. And if you don't want to be in that game, don't be in that game. But boy, oh boy, I know you and I would both say, like, that is a growing population, growing in affluence, growing rates of entrepreneurship, moving up the economic ladder. If you have that opportunity and you're really choosing to ignore it, do so at your own risk.
At your own peril. If you're a young lawyer, you're watching this and you are, mid-20s to mid-30s, and you believe that you want to grow as a business person or as a law firm owner someday, and you do not actively market to the Hispanic community, you will dry up and die on the vine, because it's a growing demographic. It's one of the few growing demographics in the United States. And, you absolutely 10 years from now regret not having made the commitment to market to the Hispanic community sooner. So to me, it's a no-brainer. If you're 60 years old and you're not like myself and you're counting down, you're checking off the days, then maybe you can get through to the end of your career. But if you're a younger lawyer, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity to grow.
Yeah. So Len, let me ask you the final triple question, which is just probing what is happening in Len's life. So it's reading, watching, listening too. So I'm curious, what are you reading these days?
Well, I'm reading a bunch of things. I'm like you. I'm a serial reader with multiple books going at the same time, and they're almost always in the business and leadership mindset. I'm reading In the Spirit of Kaizen. It's a book about what a lot of people think is a Japanese philosophy of Kaizen, which is small incremental improvements in various areas of your life. And the reason why big innovative change sometimes fails, because of what it does to the person's psyche. Like, we're doing so much change here at the firm that we're getting people with overwhelmed looks on their faces and pushing back against change. And I never really understood that, because I'm wired a bit differently. But this book helps understand why we as humans are naturally and rightfully resistant to big change. It's a survival mechanism. And if the more we understand how that works in our brain, the better we can become at making change that we need to make in our life, you know. So that's one book. The other book is What Got You Here Won't Get You There. It's a business book, and it's really interesting about some of the personality traits that we have as leaders that we're unaware of, that we might need to change. And it's a good book. And I think those are the only two books that are actively going at the moment.
It's fair. So what are you watching these days?
The problem with being a morning person, like I was up at 4:15. I was up at 4:15 this morning at my desk at 6
Well done.
So my evenings are, I'm not the life of the party at night. And I don't watch a lot of TV, but my wife does have me watching a show it's a German show. And, you know, but they've dubbed it in English. So you're listening to English speaking. And it's pretty good. It's called Dear Child. It's got a bizarre show. I can't tell you, oh my God, I love it. But it's interesting. It's about young children who are taken captive by some crazy killer. And it's mindless. I usually fall asleep before it. And I don't watch much TV. I just don't.
That's fair and good.
Yeah.
And then what are you listening to these days? Music, podcast, audiobook, any of it?
For music, I listen to a lot of smooth jazz. I listen to, I listen to country, Zach Brown.
Good choice.
Yeah, a lot of country music. I listen to music, but I don't listen to it. Like when I work out, I listen to music a lot. So the hour workout that I get every day, I'm listening to tunes. Podcasts, my son got me into podcasts. So I listen to Peter Attia. It's called The Drive. It's all about longevity and health. It's super interesting. The guy likes to work out too. So it's, and that's it for podcasts. I have been listening to, trying to think of the name of the other podcast. Peter Attia.
Do you listen to Andrew Huberman?
Yes, thank you. It's very.
There we go.
Those two are very. They're symbiotic almost. I do listen to Peter Andrew Huberman as well. My son turned me on to him. Started listening to him.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Podcasts are all the rage. I'm a newcomer to them.
I've loved podcasts now for 15 years.
Yeah, it's just very new for me. But
yeah. Well, welcome, Len. We're glad you're here.
I'm on a podcast. This is great.
Perfect. Well, Len, my friend, I appreciate your time. If someone is interested in reaching out, they want to refer cases to you or questions to follow up, what's the best way for them to learn more about you and what you do?
Go to our website, spadalawgroup.com, SPADA lawgroup.com. They can call me. Anybody that's interested in just speaking to me about the whole marketing to the Latino community, I would give my cell phone number for people like that because I really want that. I apologize for the train if you can hear it in the background. Like my cousin,
it adds character.
My cousin Vinny, with the train in the background. My cell phone number is 617-256-4005. And I mean it when I say if you want to speak to me about what I've done in the Latino community and you're committed to helping that community, then you'll have my time. You can call and I'll do anything I can to help you because I'm passionate about helping that community. Wherever you may be, if that community needs help and you can help, then that's awesome. Let's talk.
Len, appreciate your time. Appreciate your wisdom.
Nice chatting with you, Charlie.
All right. And we'll see you all in the next episode of They Don't Teach This in Law School.
Take care.